Welcome to the Savvy Leader Podcast. I'm Kristin, and I'm here to challenge how you think, lead, and show up. Because this isn't about surface level success. This is about clarity, alignment, and making decisions that actually move your life forward. If you're ready to stop performing and start leading with real intention, then you are in the right place, my friends. Hey there, welcome back to this week's episode of the Savvy Leader Podcast. My name's Kristin, and I am the creator of the True North Navigation Method. I help people find greater clarity, alignment, and direction in their lives, their leadership, and their work. And this month, I want to explore a theme that means something very different to each of us. And that, my friends, is freedom. Yes, freedom. You remember when you were young and freedom looked like independence, having choices, having money, or the ability to go wherever you wanted to go because you finally got your driver's license. Life, though, has a way of redefining freedom for us as we grow up. Things happen, things change, and freedom looks very different than that first taste we had when we were young. Sometimes freedom shifts after success or maybe disappointment. Sometimes, though, freedom can redefine itself after loss. And also, it can redefine itself once again when we've lived through some major disruptions, the kind of disruptions that change everything we thought our life was going to look like. I know what it's like to build a picture of a future you were reaching for, striving for, and working really hard for, only to watch it change before your eyes, and sometimes in an instant. More than once. I've lived through this. I left a successful corporate gig over a decade ago because something just simply no longer fit. I had some things happening in my life that were forcing me to reevaluate my priorities, and I couldn't help but notice that I was so misaligned at work. From the outside, I'd done everything right. I got the promotions, I had plenty of responsibility, and I was ready for the next step on the ladder. But I realized something. Just because I could climb the ladder didn't mean that it was leaning against a wall that I wanted to spend my life on. Does that make sense? My values and the environment around me were just so off base. Walking away was kind of terrifying, and also knowing entrepreneurship would be so exciting. At least it looks that way from the outside. Don't get me wrong. I am grateful every day that I made the decision to resign from that corporate gig. But entrepreneurship is hard. Really, really hard. And anyone who tells you otherwise or doesn't really share that side of the story probably isn't telling you the whole story. Freedom, though, comes with some real uncertainties. I knew that I would work hard. I wasn't afraid of hard work. Hard work was my gig. That was my jam. Not scared of that at all, but there was a lot of things that I wasn't ready for. Additional responsibilities, for sure. And it comes with seasons of wondering whether or not you did the right damn thing. Like, you spend so much time wondering, should I? Should I have? Could I have? What would have happened if? For me, though, it came with some real alignment. It did. Life changed again, as many of you know. My husband's motorcycle crash changed nearly everything about who we imagined we would be. Suddenly, freedom wasn't about building another business. It wasn't about financial goals. Freedom became so much simpler for us during those years. It became more about peace, flexibility, being able to adapt, being present, learning to appreciate what remained instead of constantly mourning what was gone. Grieving. Grieving the life you thought you'd have. I don't think we talk about this enough because sometimes we're grieving people. Sometimes we're grieving careers, and sometimes we're grieving our dreams. Sometimes we're grieving a version of ourselves that just no longer exists. There isn't a place for it anymore. Transformation is what keeps us from living. You can't have one foot in the past and one foot in the future. It just doesn't work. Sometimes, though, we might be grieving a future that we thought was guaranteed. That grief is so real. But eventually, we realize we have a choice. We can spend our lives trying to recreate that past. Like I said, one foot there, one foot here. Or we can begin designing a future that honors who we've now become. That's what led me to this week's newsletter. We spend so much energy trying to change other people, hoping they'll understand our perspective, maybe even hoping that they'll apologize for something, or maybe just for a moment, they might be able to agree with us, hoping that they'll finally become who it is we need or want them to be. This is what I've learned, you guys. Peace, real peace begins when the control ends right there in between. One realization has given me some tremendous freedom recently, and that is that every single person is making decisions based on what they believe is best for them. Sometimes those decisions are driven by love, sometimes fear, sometimes insecurity or seeking security, sometimes ambition and drive, sometimes just sheer survival. They're responding to their own experiences, their values, their priorities, and their perspective. It doesn't mean you're going to agree. And it doesn't mean that their decisions won't affect you because they might. It doesn't even mean that they're right. But recognizing that their choices, their decisions belong to them, and that your response is what belongs to you can free you from carrying these burdens that were just never yours to carry in the first place. Maybe you're listening today and you're a successful corporate CEO. You've done everything right. You look amazing on paper. Your resume is solid gold. You've got the title, the bennies, the salary. But every Sunday night, you feel this knot in your stomach, and week after week, it grows. You know your values are just no longer a fit in the culture that you're working in. The next promotion doesn't excite you. It actually exhausts you. I've been there. I've seen that. I've lived that. It doesn't automatically mean that you're going to quit tomorrow, you guys. But what it does mean is that it's time to pay attention because misalignment has some very real costs. And if you ignore it long enough, eventually it's going to cost you your health, relationships, energy, and your peace. That's why I've created this 4-step process. That's what this whole month is all about for me because freedom isn't just one decision, it's a real process. And the same process that I teach through the True North navigation method. First, you have to recognize every meaningful change begins with awareness. Before we can move forward, we have to be honest about where we are today by asking ourselves, what is it that's stealing my peace right here, right now? What is it that you're trying to control? What can't you let go of? And what have you been pretending isn't bothering you. Until we recognize what's keeping us stuck, we're going to repeat these same patterns over and over and over. But once we do recognize what's no longer serving us, we've got an opportunity to see things differently, to reorient ourselves. Sometimes the greatest breakthrough doesn't come from changing our circumstances. It comes from changing our perspective. And you can start by asking yourself this. Maybe freedom isn't changing everyone else. Maybe freedom begins with changing your perspective. Because when your perspective changes, your possibilities begin to change as well. And once that new perspective takes hold, it will naturally lead to new choices and the opportunity to begin designing the life you truly desire to live. Freedom isn't something we accidentally stumble into. This is something we intentionally build upon itself. Try asking yourself this question. What boundaries really need to exist in my life? What environments will support my values? And what kind of life am I intentionally creating? Those are some powerful questions because our environment shapes us far more than we give it credit. Maybe it's a workplace where collaboration is valued over competition, or maybe integrity matters more than office politics. A place where you're trusted to do your job instead of constantly looking over your shoulder. If your values are honesty, respect, and growth, but your environment rewards fear, gossip, or cutting corners, that kind of misalignment will eventually take its toll. Maybe, though, it's your relationships and the people you choose to spend your time with and you surround yourself within. Are you surrounding yourself with friends who celebrate your growth instead of questioning it? Or family members who respect healthy boundaries? How about a community where you can be yourself without constantly trying to earn acceptance or explain who you are and what matters to you? And sometimes the environment isn't another person at all. It's the way you've actually already designed your everyday life. Are you giving yourself space to think or time to rest? Do you have moments outdoors to meditate, pray, exercise? How about create? Do you enjoy meaningful conversations with the people you love? You know, our calendars often reveal whether our environment supports our values far more, honestly, than our intentions ever will, and so will our bank accounts, mind you. Take a look at that bank statement you get each month. That'll tell you where your money goes. And where your money goes are where your priorities are. And just as importantly, which environments require you to become someone you're not. Because every decision you make is either moving you closer to alignment or further away from it. Once you've chosen your direction, the most important thing is simply to keep moving, navigate your way. Not perfectly, not quickly, just real intention. Step after step, ask yourself, what is your next best, most faithful step? Not every step, just the next one. That is how lasting freedom is created, one aligned decision at a time. If you're mourning the life you thought you would have, I want you to know something. Your story isn't over. It may look different than you expected, yeah, but different doesn't automatically mean bad or worse. Sometimes the life we never planned becomes the life that teaches us who it is that we really are. Freedom isn't the absence of responsibility, and freedom isn't getting everything you want. Freedom is living in alignment with your values, releasing what isn't yours to carry, protecting your peace, and continuing to move forward with real purpose. That's what we're going to be working toward together throughout this month. Thanks for joining me today, you guys. Until next time, stay aligned, stay intentional, and keep moving toward your true north. Thanks for listening to the Savvy Leader Podcast. If something in this conversation made you think differently, that's the point. Share this episode with someone who needs it and make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's next. For more conversations on clarity, alignment, and real leadership, connect with me through the SavvyLivingNetwork.com and join the conversation at the Savvy Leaders Lounge on Substack. Until next time, lead with intention.